No shade. But after those results came out on Tuesday and I saw who was voting for who, I could have grabbed me a red hat. Y'all gotta go. You gotta go. You got to get up out of here. Because, like, why would y'all come over here and do that to us? All of the hard work we have put in, why would you do that?
And why do you play all day?
Pardon me. Pardon me. Pardon me.
In America, what the fuck? We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you?
You nasty girl.
You nasty, nasty, nasty girl. You had one job. Y'all couldn't get it together for one day and you sent us all the way straight into fascism?
Thanks a lot, bitch.
America. America. Not the beautiful.
Definitely not the brave.
The racist.
The sexist.
The misogynistic.
The evil and the mean.
Just the everything. America, you're just a no good, low down, dirty girl.
She's musty.
Now, last time we were here, we were excited, trying to get the people to get out the vote. Doing all we can.
Pulling our part, doing our role.
And we know what happened on Tuesday.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I crashed out. I completely crashed out. Because I feel like every facet of this cycle, I've tried to touch and be involved. Like, I was a DNC delegate. I was at CBC. I planned political program, like, hit the doors, organize other folks, and, like, even, like, organize, advocated in down ballot races, cheered a poll, right? Like, really was invested in a way because I felt like this was black women's opportunity to say, look at us. Mm-hmm. We did that. You know, that black women deserve to be in the spaces. We deserve the things and the work we do behind the scenes, since Mammy and them back on the plantation, even feeding them and nourishing them with our own breast milk. Mm-hmm. Let's be real, our blood is toiled into the soil. Our DNA sold into their bones. So I really feel like this was going to be our moment.
Yeah.
And to see just like such a resounding no, like every swing state is so crazy.
It's literally
People have been like calling me and checking up on me all week. Like, are you okay? I saw how invested you were, how much work you did. Like, for even other people to notice that, like, I'm kind of really shook. And I think everybody communally is like really, really shook, right? So I feel down. I feel dark. I feel like I want to dissociate. I really want to think about how does my advocacy as a black woman look in a Trump America, a fully functional Trump America, right? Because last time it was dysfunctional.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to drive the car. They fucked it up one time, had 8 years to be campaigning, and now they're in a prime position with all of the power across the board to do the things they want to do. So I just feel fucked up. Yeah. I feel the fuck down.
And that's the part that's like really messing me up, is like when people are saying like, oh, they can't do that because they're going to be stuck in court, or oh no, this is going to happen because of this process, this and this. Baby, ain't no more processes.
What's not clicking? What's not clicking?
What people don't realize is that the laws are only as good as the people who have to enforce them. And if we don't have people of quality or people of morality in a certain place, it don't matter. The process do not matter. So whatever you think is going to happen in court, whatever you think due process should be in place, with the current situation, with all powers, it's not going to happen. Ain't no more processes.
Yeah. And they've systematically since 2016, when he did win the presidency, have put in certain things to dismantle the guardrails. And I think people, as like a matter of just human nature and psychology, right, we rely on familiar experiences and practices to like guide how we should feel about things that are coming at us now. And I think we're a little bit desensitized because we watch them crash out on TV and Twitter and make all the threats and do all the crazy things and damn near kill all of us, killed over 1 million people with his mishandling of the pandemic, right? So I think we're desensitized, and there was guardrails there was federal judges. We didn't have the court, but we had a way more sensible court. He did not have the House, right? So I just think he has every level of government and has done the work to sow these seeds and to unravel the guardrails. So what people were used to the first term is not what the fuck it's going to be this term. This is a serious matter.
Serious. And like we've been telling y'all,
you didn't vote for the AKA, now you got to have a serious matter.
Okay, now it's serious for all you did. Okay, like it's literally crashing down on all of us. Even if you don't realize it now, just wait.
I told y'all niggas.
I don't want to like have this like doom and gloom perspective. I'm just being realistic with you hoes, because the gag is, it ain't like he wasn't telling us what the fuck was gonna go down for the whole time he was campaigning. We been new.
Y'all thought I was sweet, but I told y'all
The video's been out. He been telling you he gonna do this. He been telling you Department of Education, you're done for. He been like he literally been saying this shit.
Yeah.
And now we're looking like, oh, somebody help us. What are the Democrats gonna do to save us? Bitch, the Democrats ain't doing shit.
The Democrats the whole time been scrambling to save their ass. They was like, you said Joe Biden's too old, get him out of here. Throw the black lady in there. They are throwing anything at the wall to see that will stick. And I don't want to not have an unrealistic conversation on like Trump is obviously speaking to something, right? Mm-hmm. I got my feelings on what the fuck it is, but they want to say what they think it is.
Look at there.
But I do think there is something to say about we need to run candidates that people want to see. We need to run candidates that are real, that are relatable, that are authentic. And for me, Kamala Harris was that, but I am also a part of a different class of Negro. Let's just be real, right? Like there's the AKA connection, there's the education, there's the politics. Like I understand things about her that maybe other people maybe couldn't relate to, but at the same time, we need real niggas in office.
Yeah. And then like not even that, like we need real niggas in the party voting and on the grounds. Like you niggas are not real. Like my whole thing is one thing that the right does well, once they get that candidate in place, everybody coalesce around that person. No matter what the fuck they got going on, you're not gonna hear them talking too much crazy shit about the candidate at the top of the ticket. On the Democratic side, it don't go down like that. Like the left is the only side that get criticized all around. Like you get criticized from the people on the left of you and to the people of the right of you and to the people that are right in the center. Nobody is criticizing the right as much as the left is being criticized. And to me, that aids in like voter suppression. That aids in like keeping people at home who might be on the fence like, all right, you know, like maybe I might go vote. But if they see y'all constantly dogging the bitches that you telling them to vote for, they're gonna stay home. Just simply put.
Just like they did.
Yeah, just like they did.
Just like the fuck they did.
Yeah.
And like, let's be real. It is also a tool of the right and white supremacy to sow discord amongst diverse populations or populations of the same type of motherfucking people. Yeah. And then they stay coalescing, they stay solid around their folks while we're all infighting and imploding and blowing our own shit up. Like literally the day after Kamala Harris couldn't even get in her political grave. The lady is 64. She's been in every level of government. What else is there for her to do? Right? Before she could even get in that proverbial grave, they out here talking about what the bitch could have did different.
That pisses me off. The gaslighting is I'll slap you bitches dead in the motherfucking streets. Stop playing. Stop playing. They playing.
Bro, y'all niggas sick as fuck, and that's exactly why I attack y'all niggas like that.
Because why? This is my thing. And what makes me so upset about it is that I feel like no one here is stupid and no one here is unaware of what the fuck is going on. And when you sit up here and you talk about inflation, kitchen table issues, the economy is why they voted for Trump. What the fuck was Trump saying but no taxes on tips? Like, what was he really saying to you to make you believe it was about the economy? And they will say that to you because now we're in the second iteration of the hood is off.
Who is having that conversation?
And like my thing about the no tax on tips is like y'all are not even smart enough to realize he didn't make that plan for bitches serving down at the Applebee's. Do you know that corporations get gifts? Corporations get tips. That's what the fuck is for. Not you bitches. It just so happens that you might benefit from that. But the gag is it wasn't created intended for your benefit.
And instead of really voting for a candidate, and I will say this, the Democrats weren't necessarily offering that either, voting for a candidate that's saying, I'm going to give you a living wage. And I'm going to fight for a living wage nationally, right? I'm going to build a bench of folks to run in our Congress and run in the Senate and run in the House that can support my agenda. Really, there's different parties. That's what we got to open our mind to. Jill Stein, we're not talking about the grifting ass Russian agent that is Jill Stein, even the Working Families Party, right?
Yeah.
There's other places where we need to be building movements of people around poverty and around shit like this, because clearly the Democrats don't always have a message and the right just gonna motherfucking lie. But also what they're gonna do collectively is gaslight us and tell us that it's all these other issues versus them being sexist and them being racist.
Period. It's not the economy.
No.
It's not that the Democrats ran on identity politics, because they didn't.
They ran on identity politics.
Trump is nothing but identity politics. It's literally right in our face, but the thing is, you can't say the things. Nobody can say the things. And that is the only reason why that the cycle of white supremacy continues to fester, because nobody can call it out explicitly to say, this is the thing that's impacting my life in a negative way. Because what happens when you call it out? Either you are gaslighted to think that it's not a thing, or guess what? Your life about to get fucked up now.
Because you're doing too much. You're rocking the boat too much. We're all supposed to be in the boat acting like the boat ain't sinking from the big ass hole. It's like literally the proverbial like elephant in the room. And if you don't name it, then you can get along and go along and get your little piece. The second you start doing too much, you're out of here.
You're out of here.
I really don't.
If we can't say the things, we're never going to change the things. Like, just like Monique said, right? Say their names or keep it on the playground.
Say their names.
Say their names.
Leonard.
Leonard.
You're that brother.
Ever since Tuesday, I said that I'm going on the Say the Things campaign. Like, whatever the fuck it is, I'm saying the thing.
That's what the fuck I'm talking about.
I do think that economic anxiety is real.
It is real,
I do think, and I think if people cared about economic anxiety,
they wouldn't have voted for Trump. They wouldn't have voted for Trump.
And I think people do have it, but I think that they hate Black people and specifically Black women. And they hated what Kamala Harris could represent because it's how dare you, we let one of you be president and now you think you gonna get two within one of my lifetimes? No, it's and people, this the same, it's like the illusion of voting. They want to tell you voting don't matter. They want to tell you symbolism don't matter. All of that shit matters. And everything in life, everybody who out there love your motherfucking astrology science and everything in life is about balance and spectrum and like this scale of like continuity, right? It's never either black or white, left or right?
Both and.
It's a both and. And I think when we get into this situation where we're looking at politics and we're not realizing it's a continuity and we need people to show up representing all of the things, then we're fucked. Like we are, and we're fascist.
What the hell we gonna do now?
And I think that's something that's also just like so mind-boggling to me, and that just like irritates me so much, is when people say like, oh, the platform should have ran on this, this, and this, and it's literally things that literally she ran on. Like, what are you talking about?
You just didn't want to vote for a Black woman. Just say that. Just say, and this is the thing. We know y'all hate Black people. And we know what we all felt when they swapped her out and put her in the front. It was like, damn, the country never gonna vote for like a woman and a Black woman. It's not gonna happen, right? And I just think that we've never dealt with the white folks that were the insurrectionists from the Civil War. We've never had truth and reconciliation around the horrors that are institutionalized racism, blatant Jim Crow, and chattel slavery that existed in our country. And they don't want to pay the bill for it. And they never gonna pay the bill. And they rather self-destruct than be accountable for it. So that's what the things are. The things are your hood is off. America with the 3 motherfucking K's kicking up dust. It doesn't want to own who she is, so rather gaslight, lie, and oppress us. And let's be real, we're not even the targets for real. We the targets, but we're not really. We always the targets, so we know how to get through. But really, the people who was edging them out in 2050 was the Latinos. So that's why they're talking about mass deportation, denaturalization. Look, and this is the thing, because we are Black people and we are beautiful, multifaceted beings who have survived through so much trauma here. We always empathize with all other oppressed populations, even when they are anti-Black. And even when they go and choose a white supremacist for proximity to whiteness because they've never had to live under the hill of white supremacy due to our sacrifices through the civil rights movement.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say, like, the only reason that you're comfortable even being in this space and operating in the way that you're operating is because of the struggles and the hardships that Black folks had to go through to ensure that we all get the rights. Y'all would not be benefiting from anything in this country if it wasn't for the hard work of Black folks.
She marched with Martin Luther King in 1968.
People can be people of color, communities of color, and still anti-Blackness is running all up and rampant in their racist to other motherfucking Black people and other people of color. Even Latinos are not a monolith. They are very, very amongst their cultures, their countries of origin, and they have hatred amongst each other from even that. So my thing is this: we already know you cannot be up in the house with Master, dismantling Master house with Master's tools, who taught us that a black goddess, Audre Lorde, okay? So we already know that that doesn't work. They don't know that shit, though.
Yeah.
They don't know that. And so what they've done is like cut off their noses to spite their face, but there is still a percentage of them that is in coalition with us.
Yeah.
And what's sadly gonna happen when people get deported will be the lowest of them, who cannot co-opt into whiteness, who probably would be people who are in solidarity with us. So we face with a conundrum of how do we partner with people who we know are fucking racist, but at the same time need coalition, and some of them might not be. Our heads are on such a crazy ass swivel right now.
I'm literally looking at everybody like, I don't know who to trust. I don't know what's going on. Is it you? Who voted for who? Like,
who did you vote for?
Everywhere I go, I'm asking bitches, who did you vote for? Before I even have a conversation, who did you vote for? Like, if you look suspicious, if you look like you even love red hats, who did you vote for? Like, I'm asking.
As you should. Me and this fool are literally doing this thing at the parade company. Literally. So we walking past and they're looking at us like we are exhibit in the zoo. And Paris just starts shouting out, who did y'all vote for? Who did y'all vote for? Amongst all the floats. Just like very, very crazy.
Okay.
And we just...
Because we need to know. And the gag is, just like you said, some of us, right? It's definitely possible for us to experience internalized racial inferiority, right?
Absolutely.
Like, we are all socialized in the same way. We are all indoctrinated under the same systems, the systems of white supremacy. So whether you're white, black, a person of color, whatever you are, like, we still get the same teachings and like we still internalize the same things. And if you don't actively work against like some of those negative teachings that we're taught about ourselves, you'll start to believe those things, and then you start to hate people like you start to hate yourself, and then you start to vote against what your interests are because you think that you're white.
Or that the white people are gonna adopt you or accept you or make you the exception.
Yeah.
And what you don't know, and this is the gag that they don't get, is that we know, like, even the most coonish black man said, even if you in a Benz, you still a nigga in a coupe. Kanye said this, bro. Kanye, who is the cool of all cools, the head cool.
Yeah.
Baby, clocked in all the time, right? In there with Trump and Elon Musk, and he still knows he's still a nigga. So what they don't know is they're niggas too. And what white people view as, even if you are black, Arab, Mexican, y'all are not white, y'all are niggas.
Period. Like, my whole thing is, like, you have to realize, like, this is a binary world. Like, they don't want to hear nothing non-binary at all. Like,
Fuck no.
White supremacy hinges on othering. So when they are presented with the opportunity to other you, like how the you know, some of the Latino folks like, oh, he's only gonna deport the criminals. We're family oriented. He don't give a fuck.
ain't no difference. How can they tell?
How can they tell?
Okay, they're not gonna even do no audit.
They have no way to run the test. What's the metric?
What is the metric? Okay, they want them all gone. Like, what is the metric? And people that say like, oh, well, Trump can be racist because he did this for this group of people and then he did this for this group of people. Back to this, what is the metric? Like, if your metric to say that someone is racist or not is based upon what good things they do toward that group that they're said to be racist toward, that's a flawed logic. Because when you think about slavery, those folks were racist, but they were still having sex with slaves. They were still feeding their slaves.
And they thought they were
their slaves.
And the same way they killed all the natives and stole the land, the same way they thought enslaved Africans, they thought they were humanizing them, making them more European. They thought all of us were savages, right?
Right.
So they think just us being in proximity to their whiteness and us serving their white supremacist ideals, that we're living up to what we should be and melding into whiteness, right? And all of that they will teach you about white supremacy and having a multiracial society, they don't want none of that shit. And they're showing you
It was all a lie.
we gave them a multiracial president, two of them. Two of them. We gave them women. They don't want those things. Even if they tell you, if you meet all of these boxes and these criteria, you are one of us. They are telling you, and what it has proven this election, you could be 20 times better than them. 20 times better than them, and you still a nigga.
Guys, it was all a lie. She lied.
Now, when we think about what happened on Tuesday, We need to get into the demographics because like what's been happening was also a part of the gaslighting. Do you know I've seen people with the nerve to say like, oh, Trump gained with the black folks. And my whole thing is sure, right?
Yeah.
But when we think about the demographic of the actual voters and who they voted for, we cannot say that the black people did not support Kamala.
Absolutely. No, the black people are the only demographic of minorities that overwhelmingly came out for Kamala. 85%, 92% of black women, hello, clocked all the way to fuck in.
Okay.
And 80% of black men. And I don't want to hear no narratives around black men no more. And we know y'all niggas with y'all $67 a week in child support, can y'all ass still get on my nerves. You still misogynistic and you're still problematic a lot of times. But you did what the fuck you needed to do.
Yeah.
And at 78%, that's what we forecast black men to be for a Democrat in any election outside of the Obama surge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So don't put that shit out on our doorstep.
Yeah.
We did what the fuck we came to do.
Yeah.
And that is why we are so crushed by it.
Right. So until y'all motherfuckers are ready to talk about what y'all owe me, at the very fucking least, y'all owe me the right to my fucking identity and to not exploit that shit. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's what we're like holding on to.
Absolutely. I think that is also the reason because it's like, well, I thought we all kind of, said Trump was terrible back in 2020, right? Like, I thought that we all were pretty much on the same page. He was racist. He was extreme. He was just not fit for office.
Killing us with a pandemic, telling us to inject bleach.
Like, I thought we all was understanding of...
You had to mail your ballots in. You couldn't even go vote in peace. You had to wear a mask everywhere.
Like, do y'all not remember it was crashing down on the news every single day? Kind of how it is now. It's headlines. Headlines. Back to back to back to back. You're getting hit with them bitches.
The fatigue.
Okay.
And that's why this time I do feel like it's going to be worse because people are going to check out. Because we're used to be just such a fucking barrage of information from him. And that's why this time it's like, okay, we're not going to even pay you no attention no more. When it's really he's being more diabolical and actually doing the shit he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing with the fatigue is like why we enjoy Biden is because we got tired of it.
Yeah.
And why the pendulum swung in a way it did. I remember saying, I just want to forget we got a president.
Yeah.
I just want to wake up and the president be doing his motherfucking job. And I feel like it don't even got nothing to do with me. Like, that's what I heard him to do.
Yeah.
Trump is going to let you know every day, bitch, I'm the president. Oppress you, deport you, rob you.
He's such a drama queen.
Yes.
Such a drama queen.
Yes.
Attention whore.
Yes.
You just got to rub it in our face that you're the president. You're going to do some crazy shit just to stay in the headlines. For what?
To make money.
You are absolutely right.
I think that anybody has a right to vote for anybody who they want to, right? But I also think that it's very interesting when people vote for someone who might enact policy that could be detrimental to them based on whatever factors, they might have going on. So I say all that to say, granted, yes, I'm surprised that anybody voted for Trump, but guess what? Y'all could do that. You just gonna be racist. You just gonna be all of the things that you are, but you can do that. But it's still just so surprising to me of the amount of certain demographics that Trump won versus Kamala, especially considering like what his rhetoric is towards those groups.
What are those groups?
So honestly, I think it's anybody besides white folks. If you're not white, why would you vote for Trump?
But they believe they are white. And they're being annexed into whiteness. And the strategy of white supremacy works in two prongs, right? And we've seen it with the Irish becoming white, with the Italians becoming white, right? The number one way to become white is to become racist and to become anti-black.
Yeah.
Even how Asians show up in the country, they have a lot of anti-blackness, a lot of racism, right? So what we're seeing is the two-pronged strategy of they know in 2050 Latinos are the group to outpace them and make them a minority in power, like truly in number, in mass.
I want to know how it is you voted for Donald Trump when you're so into facts, because his entire campaign is not based in facts. It was all based in propaganda and emotion.
I voted for Donald Trump for one reason only. His policies, if implemented, would slow the dispossession of whites in the United States. If he were to deport all illegal immigrants, if he were to think very hard about letting in any Muslims, all of this would slow the rate at which whites are becoming a minority.
Why are you so worried about the white dispossession of America?
Because I want my people to survive. Is that so strange? We don't control China. We don't control any place where whites are not a majority. And if we become a minority, we will not control our own destiny anymore.
I grew up in this country as a minority, as the children of immigrants. I was their first child born in America. And while I didn't have much possession or didn't much control, I really enjoyed myself. And I think that if you ask a lot of Americans, they would say that I had a lot to offer this country. You know, according to you, I guess I would be perpetuating the dispossession of white America.
That is true. That is true.
Would you say that you wouldn't want me in this country?
At some point, when my ancestors built this nation, they did not build it with the intention of giving it away to Mexicans or Chinese or Haitians or to anyone else.
Do you consider, you keep saying your ancestors built this country, you consider that a fact?
Who else built it?
Black people, Native Americans, Chinese people who came and built the railroads.
Do you think none of that could have been
Italian
achieved?
people.
But they're Europeans, aren't they?
And so I think what they're trying to do is make some of those Cubans and those white adjacent Latinos, annex them and have them start to identify as white. In about 2 generations, it'll all come out in the wash, and we really won't even identify them as Latino, as being separate from white. But then there'll also be the darker Latinos
who will be ostracized.
We have to really get into how colorism still has an effect in all of these populations, not just because they're not black. So what they're going to do is annex the people who have the closest proximity to whiteness and deport the rest that's not, to dwindle the numbers.
Yeah, and like my whole thing is, right, like racism might not be universal, but what is anti-blackness.
Yes.
Right? Like folks might not want to be white, but they know that they don't want to be black. And that's something that's heard around the world. That's something that is felt around the world. And that's exactly why we see situations to where we see a black woman is offering us opportunities that might benefit all, and people are still saying no, because there's no way I'm going to listen to that from you. But say that somebody like Andy Bashar gets on Twitter and says, oh, we need to run on this, this, and this, and it's literally everything that Kamala ran on, and people are ranting and raving like, oh yes, that's exactly what we need to do. Why is that?
Well, who is saying that's exactly what we need to do? Probably ain't the people that voted for Trump. Like, let's be real. And I'm not, and I hate the idea of this like swingy middle voter and pandering to that. But I also do think there is a resounding message that people need to hear.
Yeah.
There's the same, like AOC did this thing on her story that's been going around where she had a lot of split ticket voters, but she just did this little poll on her story, like what made people vote for me and vote for Trump. And they were saying like, oh, y'all care about us. You care about working class. Like you talk to real people, right? Like you don't seem like this like aloof figure who's trying to preside over us, but maybe lead and walk with us, right? And the same way they view Trump is the way they view her. So I do think there is something to say about messaging, and the white people in the room don't need to be leading that charge. And if they are the white people in the room, they need to be the white people that want to hear the messaging. Come bring them to the table, not the Harvard, Princeton, Obama regime style people. Bring in real white people out there in the fold and bring them to the table.
Period, bitch. Period.
So something else that I thought that was pretty interesting, like how do you reconcile like spending months campaigning against Kamala and then now Trump wins and you're all like, oh, well, still Biden needs to do something about Gaza. Like
Biden ain't been doing nothing about Gaza. Biden make it clear he's not going to do anything about Gaza. And I think whatever their stance on that side of the movement is toward Biden, they're owed that's fine. And he's made his stance clear, but I don't think his stance is any less clear than Trump's.
I just want to ask, like, was it worth it? How does it feel? What's the next step? What do we do when they come for you?
Because they're coming.
Like, I just really want to know.
But I think people in the Arab American community, I do empathize, because if they was blowing my people up to shreds, I wouldn't give a fuck either. It's because we've had the experience with American fascism. We're never going to opt into that. And I think they seem like the bands, right? But I also think they don't know how bad it could get. And I will say, I know for a fact that a lot of Islamic, especially people who are recently immigrated to the country, are very conservative. We've seen book banners work in the community in Dearborn. We've seen right-wing activists go and lead movements, micro movements in Dearborn. So there is already undercurrents there. Misogyny is a very real thing in Arab American communities, right? We can say Palestine and Gaza is a fact, but there is something about the conservatism of those recently immigrated folks, some of those men in that community, that they not voting for no Kamala Harris. And like, they not voting for no black woman. And that's the part, is the racism.
Yes.
If you were standing on business about Gaza, let's say you voted green, let's say you left it blank, whatever. That is your right. I can't tell you as a person whose people are being systemically murdered by the state how to react. But to vote for Donald Trump signals something else, and it's the racism.
Yeah.
That's always my problem.
Yeah.
And what I said in the beginning, when she came out, and one of the uncommitted leaders who had the encampment at Wayne State was calling her a black bitch. It is the anti-blackness for me. Like, we could get into it all day, and even if they did vote for it, it wasn't gonna matter. Right? Because what we're really mad at is the white people, and what I'm gonna tell you as black people, what they say, like, oh, now we're all infighting. Like, I saw Consciously, and you had commented under his post, right? And he was like, oh, it's all divide and conquer. No, black people are articulating the real thing, that we stand in solidarity with folks and they still be racist.
Yes.
Like, I'm fed the fuck up, like literally.
No shade. But after those results came out on Tuesday and I saw who was voting for who, I could have grabbed me a red hat. Y'all gotta go. You gotta go. You got to get up out of here. Because, like, why would y'all come over here and do that to us? All of the hard work we have put in. Why would you do that?
And why do you play all day?
Okay, you play.
Why did you know the things that black people toiled for to get the freedoms that you enjoy, and you come and shit on our work?
Why? What have
Why
we
don't
done?
you like black people?
Why
don't you like the sacrifices that we've made for you to come and have this experience? And I think there's such a lack of connection because our country is so racist that they probably don't even realize. The black people know something like how the Black Caucus in Congress is called the conscience of the Congress. Like, black people have a certain consciousness and awareness of how the United States acts. If all the black people are saying, hey, it's a smoke, it's a fire, Lord, this is a fire.
You need
if all
to
of us are running in mass, if 85% of us are running, your ass better sprint the fuck along.
Okay.
We tried to tell you.
When we see somebody run, what we do? Start running. The fuck is you doing?
Do you think we just got these defense mechanisms out of nowhere?
Like what?
But they don't have it because they haven't lived it, and they're gonna live it. And we're gonna live it too, because he's gonna get rid of the Department of Education.
Yeah, we're gonna be fucked.
And why as fuck, I have a son who has an individualized education plan. My sons go to Title I schools where everybody gets free lunch and different services. All of us are going to suffer though.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Thank God that there's a certain level of access and realms that we've been placed into that even my children are going to be able to learn inside of the home. But I know from working in education and the spheres we worked in, think about when we was working on the East Side.
Yeah.
Imagine them schools depleted of resources around Title I.
You're finished.
Special ed, bro.
You're done. You're finished. And like my whole thing is like when you hear these politicians parse these words together, you really got to pay attention to what's being said, right? Like you really have to put on your critical thinking cap and connect the dots. If they say this, I couple it with how this person feels about this, what they've said about this, what they said about this, all that together, it brings me to my conclusion. So when you see somebody like Trump say like, oh, we want states' rights, we're going to get rid of the federal government, we don't need that, we're going to give all the power to the states.
Yeah.
Let's think about history.
Segregation.
When you give power to the states, what happened when you give power to the states?
Segregation.
Segregation.
But states' right is a whole coded argument for segregation. Like, y'all are dumb.
It's literally coded language to say segregation. They want to give it back to the states because they know that the states are going to fuck the bitches up. The purpose of the federal government is to ensure that the states do not marginalize and oppress people. If you don't have no federal government to enforce the rules, if you live in a red state, you're done for.
Yeah.
Even if you live in a blue state, you might be done for.
Yeah.
Like these... You're not smart. Pay attention. You gotta pay attention. You gotta know what's being said because y'all are voting for shit thinking like, oh yeah, we getting power to the states, girl.
We getting popular sovereignty. Go look it up. You don't even know what it means.
Okay.
Insert definition here for the dodo birds. It always brings me back to this story, right? Like in my mind, I went to Renaissance High School, right? Which is like everybody's a nerd. Everybody's pretty much smart. But there's super nerds, like super smart people gifted in different areas. And it was this one boy who was like, when you think of your class officers, it's always the most popular, whatever kind of people. This one boy, he was just like a math genius, like always did so good in our math classes. And he referenced voted for him. We voted for him. And you know what? Everybody was like, such and such a treasurer, that nigga's a genius in calc.
Okay, he
you
got
niggas,
the skill.
He has the skill. And you know what? For me, when I voted for him, it wasn't about popularity or what I thought was cool or all of these other trappings. It was about, damn, I want somebody in that area doing that work who knows more than me, who likes it more than me. I want to have a leader that's smarter than me, so I don't got to pay attention to it.
I should not be smarter than the president. Why are we smarter than the motherfucking president?
And why do you want a president that's not smarter than you?
Why?
Why are you okay with like not accepting, hey, I'm not the brightest in the area and that's okay and I need to be led and instructed? There's something more going on there, and I can't get all my tentacles in it right now, but there is something around the aversion, the anti-intellectualism.
It's proximity to power. People want to see someone that they feel like represents them in that position so they can see or feel good about the current space where they are. Right? Like, you have to think about it, right? If the majority of Americans vote for someone like Donald Trump versus somebody who was overqualified, I think that is a signal to say, like, oh, if I could see him doing those things in that place, then that says to me that what I'm doing is okay too.
And it should be normalized. And it's actually what should be happening, not all these other leftist woke things that I'm seeing. Also, like leveraging cultural backlash and people not having the intellect. So I just think so many forces are at play. But the anti-intellectualism and knowing to be Americans and be in an active democracy, you gotta be well read and plugged in. And folks are not, and they're uncomfortable with leaders who are.
The fact,
some scurry shit.
The fact people are getting upset and getting mad that we can say that people are not smart is a problem for me. Why can I not state the facts? Why can I not say you can't read and y'all are getting mad? Talk about, you can't tell me I can't read. You can't say that to people. That is so elitist. Can you read? Can you comprehend?
Do you have critical thinking skills?
Do you have critical thinking skills? Why can't we state
if I took you to an escape room, would you help us get out?
You're trapped, bitch.
You're trapped, bitch. And the Sudoku puzzle, what level are you on? Okay, and I'm not saying also like schemas of intelligence are framed by white supremacy, but there are certain basic critical thinking skills that you should be able to identify for your safety and security as a human being. Like if somebody's lying to you, trying to swindle you. If somebody says they're going to hurt your personhood or take things away from you, you should not give them autonomy and control over your life, right? So there's something there, and it's probably really the racism and the misogyny. It's probably really not as complex as I make it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
say the thing.
Look, they have that. This is getting internalized white supremacy. Will teach us to gaslight us, to unthink, to think around the things. It's racism and fucking patriarchy that would allow you to vote for somebody you know it's not smart as you, who you know it's not equipped. Even if you know you ain't smart enough to even be trying to make this type of choice because you know you hate niggas.
And my thing
and you need to be above somebody, and you definitely gonna be above a black bitch.
Nothing new, nothing changed, same old shit.
Speaking of the like normalization of like all of this shit, like my thing is it's happening already. Like it's happening so fast. Like the fucking headlines we've been seeing, the like rewriting of history that was just 2 weeks ago. It's literally insane to me. Like, why are we normalizing like what Trump is doing by coding it in these vague terms or just like not saying the thing? Like if we know that he is trying to do these like recess appointments, which is like typically known to be like a shady thing, right? Why is it being reported as like, oh, Trump created this plan? No, say what's happening.
Why he's sneaking and scamming on the American people again?
He's sneaking and scamming. And then like even outside of that, right? Like don't say that Trump ran on the economy. Don't say that Trump ran on this policy and this and this. Trump ran on racism. That's what he ran on.
And the fact that our media is not naming it is why it's unfurling so unfettered. And why these next 4 dangerous years are particularly dangerous, because democracy also hinges on active media to hold it accountable.
Does that sound like something you want?
Yes.
Well, let me tell you, you'll never get it.
And my thing is like, whether we like to admit it or not, like the media shapes the perspective of so many people, right? And I think that when we have a media that's compromised or a media that is not as integritous as it should be, people have these false perceptions of like what's going on, and then they end up voting for somebody who is very dangerous, but the media didn't present it in a way that folks knew that they needed to be concerned, right? There's no reason why after Tuesday we finally see headlines that say Trump is going to close the Department of Education. What does this mean for you? Where was that at weeks ago? Like, why is it all like, oh, guess what could happen now, when y'all should have been reporting this weeks ago before people even went to go vote?
But I think also for them, we we live in a capitalist society, and I always say that like racism is like the muscle and the fat and the tendons, and the skeletal system is really the capitalism, which breeds all of these other isms to be okay with oppressing certain subclasses of people for capital. And that's what we see our media system has to succumb to capital. They want money, they want the salacious headlines, they want to run on the next crazy thing Trump has said versus really the real impacts of his policy, because that's what makes money. And we have to have like such a different approach to voter engagement and education.
Yeah.
These next 4 years, if we're really going to get to a point to kind of stomp out this fascism, if that's even like, I'm going to be honest, as black women, as black people, if that's our goal in this movement, maybe it's to educate our folks and come up with our community and local supports around each other. But I definitely think our media is more focused on capital and making money than really educating the public and holding the government accountable.
You Negroes need to get your act together.
That's the problem when like people are like looking for the news that they can use. Like y'all are giving us news for chaos. Like we can't use none of this shit but to get more stressed out about the doom and gloom. Like we need to find a place where we can go to get the information that we need to figure out like, okay, if this is coming, this is what I need to do.
What do you mean by that?
So sit back, put on your motherfucking thinking caps, and let's get ready.
We ride at dawn, niggas. Shooters mount up.
Front lines. Okay.
Bye.
Pardon me.